Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the February 21st NPU F meeting. I'm Debbie Skupczynski and chair of NPU F. Also at the meeting tonight and joining in the management of the Zoom call is Kay Stevenson, who is the vice chair of NPU F, and she also chairs the Public Safety Committee. Jane Rawlings, who is the Alcohol Permits Chair, Doug Young, who is the assigned planner to our NPU, Jack White and Rebecca Faulkner, who are zoning co-chairs, and taking minutes tonight is Aruna Narasimhan. She'll be the one that will be recording the results of our meetings. We do have two agendas, the one with the map and a consent agenda, which includes applications which historically this NPU has approved with little or no discussion. The consent agenda is attached to the full agenda and is available in the chat, I hope. Also attached are the projects that we will consider for the NPU Community Grant Awards later in the evening. A quick orientation for first-time or infrequent Zoom users. When you entered the room, your audio was muted. Please stay muted throughout the meeting so that background noise does not interrupt the flow of the meeting. You can unmute on your screen or use *6 to mute or unmute if you are listening in on your phone. Zoom publishes a participant list which lists everyone who is attending this meeting. Your name will be at the top of the list. If there is more than one person using the same device, please include both names on the participant list. Click on the word "More" to the right of your name to find an option to rename. And those are of you that may be sharing Zoom links, please be sure that the correct name is showing up on the list. Tonight, we'll be using the honor system to vote. We're not identifying verified members. I ask you to please resist the urge to vote if you don't live in the NPU. In the event we do need a hand count, we will be using the raise your hand icon. You will find this button behind the reactions tab, which for most people should be at the bottom of their device. Residents of NPU F may vote on any issue unless they have a financial interest in the application or motion. For example, a property or business owner may not vote on their own variance, but can vote on others. If you're not an NPU resident, a business owner may vote if they have met the requirements as described in our bylaws. There is a chat room, as I mentioned earlier, for you to share comments to an individual or everyone in the meeting. For most of you, it will be at the bottom of the screen. Copies of the agenda, consent agenda, and the minutes for January have been uploaded. The chat room will be monitored for comments and questions, but we will only be answering the questions if they are relevant to the topic being discussed. At NPU F, our meetings follow a town hall format. If you wish to speak, please use the raise your hand function, or if you are on your phone, hit *9. You will be called on to speak in order that the hands go up. Please be sure to stay muted until you're invited to speak, and then identify yourself so folks will know who is speaking. Please don't wave your hand on screen unless you are being friendly, because there are just too many people in the room for anyone to see it. And please do not speak unless you're called on. Others may be in the queue and waiting their turn to speak. Please keep all questions and comments germane to the topic being addressed and respectful of everyone in the meeting. I'll be watching the time and may need to cut off discussion so that we can get through our entire agenda in a reasonable amount of time. To allow all an opportunity to speak, I'm going to ask that you only speak once on a topic unless you are asked for clarification or a question on previous remarks. So that we can all hear and we can get a good recording for the archives, it's important that only one person speaks at a time, and if you interrupt, you will be muted. Finally, We are here tonight because city ordinances provide residents of Atlanta through the NPU system the opportunity to provide recommendations and comments on applications and legislative changes that impact our quality of life. It's our responsibility to tell them what we think and, when appropriate, to share the strength of that opinion through hand counts. All votes taken at the NPU are only recommendations. Final decisions are made by city boards, city administrators, or city council. And I hope that you will take advantage of expressing your opinion there as well, either in writing, by phone, or by leaving a comment during public hearing opportunities. As we get started, are there any other items that should be added to the agenda this evening? It is on the screen for review. Any changes will require a bylaw, by bylaws, a 80% vote to accept it. Are there any changes to the bylaws or to the agenda this evening? Seeing or hearing none, the agenda for the evening has been adopted. Our first order of business is the acceptance of the minutes from our January meeting. They were posted on the NPU-F website, and a link was sent to those on the NPU mailing list and to verified members. Are there any additions or corrections to the January minutes? Okay, may I have a motion to approve the minutes without changes?
So moved.
Is that Rich?
Second, Kay.
Okay, thank you. Motion was made and properly seconded to approve the minutes from our January 2022 meeting. Just so that everyone can find the reactions tab on your device, we're going to do a very quick hand count. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand using the raise your hand function found under the reactions tab. Okay, I see 35 voting in favor. You can lower your hands using the same icon. Okay, it looks like someone found the clap icon. That one usually disappears in a few seconds. There it goes. Okay, one more person. Okay, anyone opposed to the motion? All right, by a vote of 35 ayes, 0 nays, the minutes have been adopted. I have one announcement at tonight's meeting. The Atlanta Beltline Subarea 6 Master Plan will undergo a formal review starting this month. The first meeting will be held Wednesday, February 23rd, and apparently a large group of stakeholders were invited to attend that meeting. Please watch your emails and social media for the dates of 4 public input meetings. Sub-Area 6 includes the Virginia Highland, Morningside, and Piedmont Heights neighborhoods. You can find the plan on the Atlanta Beltline website. So I don't have much more to report other than it's starting, and I'm sure we all have input on that. We're now at agenda item number 4, reports from city departmental representatives. Is there anyone here from the Atlanta Fire Department that wants to speak?
Yeah, Chief DeBerry, Battalion.
Oh, great. Go ahead.
Hey, good evening. Battalion Chief Jerry DeBerry with the Atlanta Fire. Here in the 3rd Battalion in Midtown area. Just a couple things this evening. The Station 19 renovation project is projected to be done in April. I think the initial time frame was towards the end of February, but due to most projects, it's running over a little bit. And so we're looking at April. Our folks are excited to get back in over there and get back in the community. Currently, they're still running out of Station 15 there on 10th Street. So that's the latest on that. Currently, just a few notes from us. We're still hiring new members. We've got about 80 to 85 personnel in the recruitment phase at this time in various stages of training. So we're looking forward to getting those folks out on the truck, and we're still actively recruiting new members. Really just one safety note this evening. We're starting to move into spring season here before long and severe weather season. So just a couple of reminders. I'll make it really quick. Make sure you have some type of plan in place for severe weather. If you have some type of severe weather alerting system, whether that be a weather radio or some type of weather app, make sure you have that on and in place. Have additional food and water for a couple, 3 days. Sure your cell phones are fully charged. Stay away from areas where there may be down power lines. We're not, even though it may look like the power's out, some of those lines could still be active. If you have gas in your homes, make sure you have working carbon monoxide detectors, and that you have a battery powered or battery backup. And then of course monitor your local news and weather information. But just some quick tips on some weather situations as we are starting to move into to that season. And it seems like this winter's been unusually warm and cold, I guess. So we've already had experienced some of that. And then lastly, I'm sure you've probably all seen, we've responded to several calls with fires under bridges in the community. Just know, there is no outside burning in the city due to city ordinance. If you happen to see what looks like a fire coming from under any of our bridges, please report it to emergency services, and we'll certainly get out there and take care of it. So that's kind of all I have tonight. Any questions for me?
If you have a question, please raise your hand. I see one hand is raised. Nope. No, I guess I don't see a hand raised.
Okay. Well, thank y'all for your time. Hope you have a good evening.
Thank you, Chief. Thanks for being here.
Yes, ma'am.
Zone 2 and Zone 6.
Hello, I'm Captain Smith from Zone 2. Hope everybody's having a great day. I put my information in the chat box and a few things about what's going on with Zone 2. So in the beginning of the year, we saw a bit of an uptick in burglaries, and specifically burglaries to storage units on Monroe Drive. And very good news. We had a 911 call. This was about a month ago or so. And we had our evening watch responded right away, and they got to the scene, and they ended up getting 4 people that were arrested in custody, and they're still in jail right now. They had quite extensive criminal histories, and they were burglarizing those storage units in the city, up and down Monroe there. And so that was a great case. And since then, burglaries, especially on 212's beat, which is what kind of borders your NPU or where your NPU is located, we really haven't seen any burglaries since we caught those 4 guys. So that was a really great case. A few other things that are going on. The fire chief mentioned fires from homeless encampments. We just did on Friday, we did a big cleanup down at the dead end of Morosco. And we removed most of an encampment. To be honest, it was pretty extensive. So we'll probably have to go back to get the rest of it. But there was we did an outreach with our pad unit, and our Hope team was out there to try to give services to the people that were there. We also did a warning beforehand, so nobody was caught off guard. It wasn't a surprise gotcha moment. It was an outreach. We're trying to help everybody. And as the fire chief said, those are big public safety concerns, especially when we get bridges catching on fire. So we'll be, anytime we come across those, we're trying to set up cleanups. We'll be doing that in the future. And just like the fire chief said, please call 911 when you see those fires so we can get out there and handle it. A few things. We have a citywide task force that the zones have kind of gotten together to do, which has been to help with the property crimes, specifically larceny from auto. And they've been kind of hitting all the zones every day of the week. It's been really successful. We've had a lot of great arrests and great success with it so far. So we're going to continue that program. And that's about what we got for Zone 2. I also wanted to talk about real quick, we're rolling out a real-time crime fighting center, and it's called Fusus, and we're encouraging private citizens and businesses to register their cameras with the city. I put up a link to connectatlanta.org, and what that means is if there's an incident that happens near you, an officer or a detective can send out an email alert making you aware of the incident. And if you happen to have camera footage of it, you can send that in through the registry. So we're trying to encourage as many people as possible to use that. If you'd like more information, go to connectatlanta.org, and there's plenty of information for you there. If you have other questions, please feel free to email me. As I said, I put my email in the chat, and that's the best way to get a hold of me. That's kind of what's going on in Zone 2. Do
Great.
we have any questions?
Are there any questions? Please raise your hand, *9 if you're on your phone. Aaron Thomas? Go ahead and unmute.
Yes, I was just wanting to know, we do have a homeless person that is camped out on Lindbergh on a bench. She looks like she's kind of taken permanent residence there, and was talking to one of my neighbors today. Some people have talked to her. It's right there by the new houses that are kind of between Roscoe and Piedmont.
Okay.
And then last Wednesday, I've talked to Alex Swan's office. We had 3 police officers chasing a car through Home Depot, Kroger, and Target. And I don't know if it was a stolen car, but it just kind of felt very unsafe. I was driving down Morosco to go back to work, and they were flying all over the place. And you've got cars there. You've got all the construction on Piedmont Road.
Yes, the other construction's been a headache. So that was
it's a
last
nightmare.
Wednesday, you said, or are you sure that was APD units and it wasn't GSP?
No, it was AP. It was APD.
Do you know what time it
And-
was?
Around 4:30.
Okay.
And I mean, I don't know. There just seemed like there was a lot of people, a lot of homeless people out there, a lot of traffic, and I don't know. It just really kind of got me. I was just like, and I mean, I don't know. So it just felt very unsafe for everybody concerned, as far as I was concerned. But I know y'all got to do. I know you got to do your
situations. Those situations are always dynamic and fast moving and evolving, and we do train everybody to use due care and responsibility. So I can look into that situation. I'm not sure the circumstances regarding that one.
Yeah. Well, and then then of course we had the people that were fighting at the MARTA station, which, drag racing down Lindbergh, which took out our power pole. So 1,100 of us were without power till the following afternoon at 2:00 in the afternoon. So just seems like things are getting a little crazy on Lindbergh.
When was that street racing incident? Because I know they've
Wednesday
made quite
night.
a few arrests.
Wednesday night, it was 4 Asian people that were fighting at MARTA, and they came down to the he ended up wrecking his car into a pole on Armand and Lindbergh, and it knocked out 1,100 people for us. So they both went to the hospital, from what I understand. But
yes, we have quite a few. We have a detail that's dedicated to and a metro-wide task force that's kind of trying to deal with those street racers. That's been an ongoing issue, and we're certainly cognizant and aware of what goes on.
okay, well, that's all I had to say. But
Okay, great. Thank you. June Newmark?
Yes, first I want to thank Captain Smith and the officers of Zone 2, because I have not only found you to be responsive, but I appreciate what you do. And I want to talk briefly about the cleanups, the one at Morosco Drive, because I drove by there and I saw that a lot of things were still left. And now you said that it's partly because there was a lot of expense entailed, and I understand that, but I expected to see it really clean. So there were.
Well, yeah, we ran out of time, frankly. Like I said, it wasn't the cost that was extensive. It was the amount of property that was down there. We had, I want to say it was 8 or 9 truckloads and a bulldozer out there, and we were there all day. So we have to schedule another one. I agree. We just didn't anticipate the amount of property that we had to clear out. And some of that too, so it's a little funky because part of that the city owns and then part of it GDOT owns. So we can only take care of the part that the city owns, which is the other aspect. We're out there, so I know we're on the news and stuff, but GDOT is actually responsible for their part of the property, and we can't really handle their part of it. But we are in talks with them to try to get them out there to clean up their half.
Okay, and so the second cleanup I thought was on Sidney Marcus, but I don't really understand if indeed there was one, where exactly it was.
No, it was not on Sydney. It was at the one was at the dead end of Morosco and one was at the 75-85 split in the Gore area. It wasn't on Sydney Marcus.
Okay, okay, well, thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Okay, thanks, June. Last hand up is Sachi Takahara.
Hi, my name is Sachi. I'm with Mikado Japanese Restaurant in Pai High, and I am concerned about the two bridges that were on fire. February 16th was one of them, right by the Tower Beer and Wine on Piedmont Road, and I'm trying to get more information on whether it was an encampment underneath that caused it. And also, there's a bridge fire from an encampment right at the 2000 Cheshire Bridge. I guess it's the original Cheshire Bridge that was, the fire department took care of it before it got worse. But with the bridge currently closed off, if there's another bridge that goes underneath right by the CSX railroad line, the businesses end up getting landlocked and is unable to survive in that mode. So I just wanted to see if there's any proactive encampment and maybe we can get a pad in there by any chance.
Yes, we are. So we have sent our Hope team and the pad unit has been notified of those locations that they've been going out to try to give assistance when able and when requested. And we're encouraging people, if they see fires, if they see that kind of stuff, to call us right away so we can get there and get on top of it. And we are scheduling more cleanups for encampments that we know of and that we discover. And yes, that's all happening. Those discussions are ongoing with DPW and the other resources we need.
I appreciate it.
Great, thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Sachi. Zone 6. Is anyone here from Zone 6?
Yep. Good evening, everyone. I'm Captain Peter Malecki. I'm the Assistant Commander for Zone 6. So I'll give you guys kind of a general crime overview in Zone 6, and then we'll highlight a couple significant incidents that took place since we last met, and then we'll open it up to some questions. As Captain Smith said, the property crimes, it's affecting the whole city, including Zone 6. Year to date, we are down 3% in overall crime. But just to kind of give you some perspective, year to date in the city, 52.5% of all of our stolen vehicles were either left running or had the keys in them. So those ones are kind of difficult for us to combat, because if you've seen any videos of, these individuals at gas stations sliding into your car and taking off, it happens so quick. So I would absolutely encourage everyone, don't leave your keys in your car, and certainly don't leave your vehicle running. The second thing that we're kind of plagued with is vehicle break-ins. Last year, I might have said it on this meeting last month, but we've had over 2,000 firearms stolen from vehicles last year. In Zone 6, Saturday, for example, we had 5 car break-ins, and 3 of those vehicles had firearms taken. So that continues to be a lucrative way for these individuals to come across firearms. So I think if we can ultimately reduce the amount of those weapons left in cars, we can hopefully change the behavior of these individuals. I will say I'm really proud of Zone 6. In the last probably 2.5 weeks, we've made about 4 entering auto arrests of individuals breaking into cars. And while those arrests weren't specifically in this NPU, they were in Zone 6. And what we do know is these individuals are transient. So if they're hitting one part of the zone, they're hitting everywhere. So every arrest we can make in those cases, I think, will pay dividends to the entire city. You may have seen on the news, we've had some commercial robberies in Zone 6, primarily our Walgreens, CVS. We had one at Hodgepodge Coffee. Again, I'm real happy to announce we did make an arrest in that case. Zone 6 officers located the vehicle that was being used by that perpetrator. They were able to get him to stop, get him in custody, and actually execute a search warrant at a motel he was staying. And right now our robbery unit is working that, but we have charged him with 2 commercial robberies in Zone 6. And we do believe that he is going to be related to up to 10 different robberies throughout the city. So since we've made that arrest, those have significantly, those have ceased to happen. So that was really big, and I'm really proud of the guys for making that case. A couple significant cases to go over. So we did have a homicide that took place at 1492 Piedmont. That one was underneath an overpass. The victim in that case was a homeless male. That case is being worked by our homicide unit, and as soon as they provide some updates, or if we're able to announce any warrants in that case, you guys will certainly be the first one that we go ahead and share that information with. The second one was we had a shooting at Ansley Square at 1510 Piedmont. That is also actively under investigation, but what I can tell you about that is that case took place in the parking lot, so we can't say for sure it was tied to any one establishment. The suspect in that case was attempting to break into the victim's vehicle. He tried going into the trunk of the car while the victim was actually in the driver's seat of that vehicle. The driver attempted to confront him, at which point he was shot. So we do have some leads on it. Our aggravated assault unit is working that. And again, if they do provide me with some additional updates as far as, arrest warrants or anything like that, I'll be happy to share that information with you guys. So that's kind of my general update. If you guys have any questions, I'll be happy to address those.
Okay, if you have any question, please raise your hand. I see a couple questions. Raheem or Lloyd?
Yes, we are here. Yes.
Do you have a question for Captain Malecki?
No?
Okay, your hand was raised. Stephen.
Oh, sorry.
Okay,
Sorry about that.
no problem. Stephen Ramsden?
Hey, Captain Malecki, thanks for being on. I appreciate what you do. Concerning Friends Neighborhood Bar at the corner of Ponce and Ponce Place, are you familiar with what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Okay. It's absolutely horrible. It's exponentially worse than it was 6 months ago when the police sent their car towing units in there to try to get rid of some of the cars blocking the street every night. As you probably know all this already, but we had a attempted murder in a parking lot where a guy ran somebody over and dragged him 30 feet in a car, hit 5 cars and took off. Had a stabbing there. We had a guy bleeding in our driveway last week for about 4 hours in sub-freezing weather until, it's insane. And they've started, the APD officer, I believe, that's on guard there, started using a bullhorn from between midnight and 4, yelling in the parking lot for people to, follow the orders or whatever. It's absolutely horrible. And I would really, really, really plead with anyone, like I've been doing for a year and a half, 2 years, to please do something about this bar. I cannot believe it's allowed to stay in business the way it operates. And I speak for the 10 neighbors here that unfortunately live very close to it. But I do appreciate what you do. And I know you got more important things on your hands, but it is unbelievable the amount of stuff going on in this bar every night. Thank you for listening.
Thank
Sure.
you. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Real quick, if I could just address something on that. So our license and permits unit is looking into that based on some of the violent stuff you've described, to see if they're able to do a due cause or perhaps a nuisance property at that location. I will provide you this update regarding that hit and run incident. We did take out additional aggravated assault warrants on that perpetrator, and he is in custody right now. So that's some good news.
Yeah, we watched it from our living room. It's my family's in here and we're seeing all this go down, from the living room window. It's just insane, man.
No, absolutely. I totally understand. And I will follow up with Lieutenant Cotter and see kind of where they're at. And I put my email address in here. If you want to reach out to me, I can try to get you an update after I talk to Lieutenant Cotter and kind of see what the plan is for that place. Cause I do agree. It is absolutely
It's terrible. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Stephen. Rose Holston?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, Rose, go ahead.
Captain Malecki, I appreciate you coming on and giving us this update. I have a question about the 2 incidents that you described at 1492 Piedmont and 1510.
Mhm.
Those are actually the same area. The addresses are unique to some of the establishments there.
Yep.
And so just that is one general area. There's a lot of both car and foot traffic to 4 bars that are within that mall. Is there other activity that, like, this is the first I've heard of the homicide? I know it's right behind my house. And then I'm very familiar with the Piedmont Ansley Square, I'm sorry, the Ansley Square shooting. Are there other things that have been happening or escalating? Because we're seeing a lot more activity ourselves as homeowners.
So no, these are kind of the major things that have happened recently. They're not related. I know that for sure. The homicide that took place kind of underneath the overpass there, that was a delayed ruling. That individual was found deceased. Originally, they thought it was going to be natural causes, but when they did the autopsy, they found out that there was some trauma. So again, I do know that it's a completely separate incident from the one at Ansley, but until we get a little more investigative leads, I can't really provide any more information on that one. But I will say that, this is kind of new, some of the real level of violence over there. But we do have, the Beltline units patrol over there all the time underneath that overpass. So there is kind of a little larger than normal police presence through that area. But certainly we understand it's alarming, and we will, continue to step up our directed patrols in that area as well.
Is that Beltline patrol in uniform? Because I am back there quite a bit and I don't see a.
Yeah, they're on bicycles usually. That's a bicycle patrol. And they were down there. In fact, they were doing a cleanup through there probably maybe 2 weeks before this homicide took place, because, they're getting ready, I guess, to pave down there. So they were going through and trying to clean out some of those encampments underneath there. So I know for sure they were through there probably 2 weeks before this took place.
And what time do they stop patrolling on the Beltline, if you know?
So it's different days. I think on the weekends it's a little bit later, but they're typically out there till about 8 o'clock.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and last hand raised is Jack White.
Hey, Debbie. Captain Malecki, am I unmuted here?
Yes, you are. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Captain Malecki, you were interrupted there at the end. You started a sentence in Ray, the Friends Bar. You said, I agree that it is, and I'm sorry, your reaction, your final adjective was muted there. Can you tell me what you were about to say? If you
No, so I was just agreeing that, we know that place has been problematic, or that specific area that we have had some crimes take place out of that location.
Yes, sir. I'm curious myself, because and I want to say to all folks who want to complain about it, an area that has much common parking shared between many businesses, some of whom are very active and some of whom are not, that it is very easy to attribute all of the behaviors to one individual business, but it's not reflecting the anecdotal reports that we in the Virginia Highland Civic Association are hearing from that area at all. There is certainly, there have been a number of complaints from that area, but parking is shared there between a series of businesses and in no way restricted to this short parking area. So it's very difficult for me. I've spent a couple of hours there a couple of weeks ago on a nice warm night, and enjoyed myself watching the comings and goings. And there's some adventures, but I didn't see any noise or any of the descriptions. I'm sure I believe the other gentleman when he offers his examples, as I know he believes me when I say that on the number of times that I've been there, that I can't observe any that I was certain were attributed to that exact bar. So I think it's important when we get on public forums and start heaping scorn on individual business that appears to me on my occasional and only visits to it to be attempting to operate within the law, that we note that. And so if you have a case, that's one request. The last one I have, sir, is I appreciated your notes about particularly the guns stolen from cars. I wonder, sir, if I could ask you as a member of this NPU Executive Committee to submit to us some form of written summary every month. I hear these numbers and they're shocking, and they really are alarming. And I know you're more alarmed than anyone, but I'd sure like to see them month by month, year by year, over time. I've been coming to NPU meetings for 20 years, and I have loved to see a written report and a yearly summary And I'm delighted to hear that crime is down overall in the city. That's certainly not the perception I receive. So please share that information with us, but please do it in a systematic and formal way, not just, hey guys, crime's down. I don't find that remotely convincing, and I think that
Well,
battle is being lost. Thank you,
Sure.
sir.
Sure. To answer, well, we'll start with your second question. So the crime stats are updated on APD's website. So you can go on there and take a look at those anytime you'd like. To answer go back to your first question, and that's the reason, as I mentioned, that this information is provided to Lieutenant Cotter, and it takes them a long time to go through every call for service that took place at that location. And that's what they're doing. They're vetting to see if a crime or a problem is specifically attributed to one location. And it's not a blanket statement for an area. So that's why these investigations do take a little bit of time, because again, they have to go through every single call for service that took place at an address, specifically one that shares a parking lot, to determine if there is a commonality or if something actually occurred inside one particular establishment.
Appreciate it.
Okay, anything else, Captain Malecki? Thank you.
That's all for me.
I want to thank both captains for being here tonight. Great information for us. Be safe. We'll see you next month.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see, do we have a code enforcement officer here tonight? I think I saw a name listed. Code enforcement, going, gone. Officer Byrd, do you have a report, a brief report. Okay. Are there any other city department representatives that would like to give a report tonight or have information they need to share?
Hi, I'm Constance Harris with ATL 311.
Oh, I'm sorry, Constance. I saw you had signed in and I totally missed it. Go ahead.
It's okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Constance Harris again. I'm the executive assistant to Maisha Good, who is our new commissioner for ATL 311, the Department of Customer Service. ATL 311 is the non-emergency call center for City of Atlanta services. 311 is the number you dial to report things like potholes, water main breaks, questions about your water bill and solid waste services, code violations, traffic light and sign maintenance, general information, and much more. We are open Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. You can reach us by dialing 311 inside the incorporated city limits. Otherwise, our full number is 404-546-0311. At any time, you can email us, download our mobile app, report issues through our website, or message us on any social media site. All our contact information has been placed in the chat. ATL 311 has also partnered with PAD, the PAD initiative, to provide community referral services for quality of life concerns related to unmet mental health needs, substance abuse or substance use, or extreme poverty. When a community member makes a referral, the PAD team will travel to the area and attempt to engage the referred individual and connect them to the services. Thank you again for allowing us to present on tonight. And if you have any questions, I'll take them at this time, especially if you have a service request number that has not been addressed.
In fact, if you have a service request number that hasn't been addressed, why don't you drop in the chat for Constance to be able to record that? Anyone have any questions? Marla Johnson?
Yes, thank you. Hey, Constance.
Hi.
I have seen that some of the neighborhoods in the NPU have started these 311 task forces. And it seems like they are meeting with somebody from 311 on a monthly basis and kind of following up on specific claims. And I was wondering, like, how does one go about getting that started in your neighborhood?
Well, I am not sure of how you get it started. You can actually go, the information is on our website, but if you drop your email address in the chat, I can make sure that the person that's over our portfolio manager over, I want to say that it's going to be the Department of Public Works. will be able to contact you tomorrow about how to start 311 service in your area, task
Okay.
force in your area.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for 311? Any other city department officials? All right, let's move on to comments from elected officials. Oh, I'm sorry, Officer Byrd,
Public Works.
Public Works, go ahead.
Yes, good evening, everyone. My name is Officer Fergus from Public Works. I don't have much to bring you guys, but I just want to inform you that the crews are out working, collecting all three yard trimming, recycling, and yard debris, garbage, and recycling on the same day of service. And I also would like to ask you guys if you have any large piles or 20 bags or more, that it must be called in to 311 to schedule a pickup. We would like for it to be scheduled before placing it out at the curb, but if not, it's still a must that it must be called in for collection.
Sharon Dixon, your hand is raised.
Okay, good evening. My name is Sharon Dixon. I am from the City Solicitor's Office. I work in the Code Enforcement Unit. In the courtroom, we're the prosecutors that handle code enforcement, business license cases, fire code cases, all of those types of cases. We actually try those cases if it's necessary. We deal with cases that SWEET brings us, all those departments, watershed, I think, zoning and planning. So that's what I do. If anybody has any questions, please let me know.
Okay, are there any questions for Ms. Dixon or Officer Byrd? Officer Byrd, I cut you off. Okay, I think we're good. Any other city officials? Last call. All right, we are now at comments from elected officials. Is there anyone here from Councilmember Wan's office? Are there any representatives from elected officials here tonight?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jordan Kemp. I am the Communications Director for the City Council President Doug Shipman, and I'm acting on his behalf when he's not here. And so what we are doing is trying to gain a little better insight and knowledge about each region, so that way we can help facilitate any of the solutions, remedies that anybody has forward. So we're just here to let you guys know that we are here, and I'm here just to gain some knowledge and insight on the specific issues. So if you have any questions, I will put my email down in the chat below as well. So that way we are opening up a direct line of communication with the Council President's office as well. All right, thank you guys.
Mr. Kemp, will someone be at each of our NPU meetings from Council President Shipman's office?
Yes, so that is the plan. We can't promise every meeting because there are some other regions that do overlap. But that is from this day forward, that's going to be our mode of communication that we will be attending each meeting. And then that way we're going to have a direct line of communication on a consistent basis. So yes.
Oh, okay, great. Thanks. Charles Geis, I see your hand raised. Your hand is no longer raised. Okay. Anyone else representing an elected official? Is State Reps Stacey Evans here, or her new Chief of Staff, Kennedy? I don't see it. Okay. All right, then I'm going to close this portion of the agenda, and we're going to move on to the consent agenda. All right. As I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, we do have a consent agenda that we use to complete recommendations on special events and BZA applications that this NPU typically approves with little or no discussion. We do have a number of special events, and in order for us to send a recommendation, they need to be present tonight. Is Randall Fox present? From Piedmont Park Summer Arts, please. Please let me know that you're here so that,
I'm here.
okay, thanks, Randall.
Sorry.
Is Tanette Price here, or someone representing the GCA Spring Community Day?
Hi, Miss Debbie. I'm here.
Oh, hey. John Bergen from the Atlanta Miles for Melanoma 5K.
Hello, yes, I'm here.
Great, thanks. Terrell Henderson, the Landmark Luncheon at Piedmont Park.
He called in earlier. Remember his phone was.
Yeah, no, I know he was there. He's got to be here at this moment in time. Okay, Indigenous House, John Dennis.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then we have 2 BZA applications. For the record, let me review these applications. The Piedmont Park Summer Arts Festival to be held in Piedmont Park, August 20th to 21st of this year. It's a Class E, 1,999 participants and not one single more. The GCA Spring Community Day event in Piedmont Park on April 13th, 2022. That's a Class E with 1,900 participants. The 2022 Atlanta Miles for Melanoma 5K. This is a Class C event, 350 participants in Piedmont Park, scheduled for November. The Landmark Luncheon, a Class C event in Piedmont Park, August 28th, with 500 participants in the Indigenous House Atlanta. This is a Class D event with 2,000 participants in Piedmont Park on May 15th. There are also 2 BZA applications, V21-299, which is 626 East Morningside Drive Northeast. The applicant has requested a deferral. And V2217 at 623 Park Drive Northeast. The applicant has also requested a deferral. Is there anyone here who wants to have an application removed from the consent agenda so that it can be discussed in their regular place on the agenda? All right, is there an application?
Since Landmark Luncheon isn't present, then we cannot put that on the consent agenda. Is that correct?
That's correct. We'll have to remove that.
Terrell is here. Sorry, I'm having tech issues, but I'm here.
Oh, okay, great, Terrell.
Hey, it's Rebecca Jones. I'm here from Dogwood, and I don't see it on the agenda.
You're not on the consent agenda, but you are on the full agenda. We'll get you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. Is there an applicant who wants to have their application discussed at this meeting? Probably not. Is there anyone who is in opposition to any of these recommendations? May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda with all items?
So moved.
Thank you, Kate.
Second.
And I'm sorry, who's the second?
Jane.
Jane, thank you, Jane. Okay, is there any objections to approving the consent agenda? Any objections? If you have an objection to approving it, please raise your hand. I don't see any hands raised. The consent agenda is approved with no opposition. We're now going to move to the, I gotta go back to the agenda to make sure I'm staying on track. Matters for voting. And I'd like to take them in this order. We'll start with the alcohol license application. The first being Club Platinum. The applicant has requested a deferral for this application. May I have a motion?
Move to defer.
Second.
Okay. I recognize Kay's voice. Who was the?
Jack, move to defer.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jack. Is there anyone opposed to deferring this application? Motion carries with no opposition. The next LRB application is Baraka Convenience, and I'm going to turn this portion of the meeting over to Jane Rawlings, who is our alcohol permits chair.
Thanks, Debbie. Is the applicant present?
Yes, ma'am.
This application is for a change of ownership at an existing gas station that has a retail package license to sell beer for off-premise consumption. It's located at 2239 Cheshire Bridge. There were no issues or discrepancies that I found with the application. The NPU has not received any complaints regarding operations as they pertain to alcohol sales at this location. So if the applicant wants a couple minutes to address everybody, otherwise I'll go ahead and make my motion.
No, other than to say it's a pleasure doing business with you and the community. And we look forward to a good working relationship.
Thank you, and thank you for being here. And I'll make the motion to send this application forward with a recommendation to approve.
Thank you much.
Thank you. And that second was by Kay. Thank you. Okay, any discussion on the motion or any questions for the applicant? Does everybody know where this convenience store is located? This is the Quick Mart that's on the corner of Cheshire Bridge and Lenox. Okay, are we ready to vote? All those in favor of recommending approval or approving the change of ownership LRB application for Baraka Convenience, please raise your hand. Okay, there's one person that has a thumbs up. You might want to check. There we go. Okay. All right, I see 30 in favor of the motion. You can drop your hands. Okay. Just a couple more down. Couple more, couple more. Okay, and is there anyone opposed to this application, approving this application? Please raise your hand. Okay, I'm seeing none in opposition by a motion, by a vote of 30 ayes and 0 nays. The motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Borden.
Thank you.
Coming to the meeting. The next application is Knock Music House. This is 1789 Cheshire Bridge Road. Jane?
And is the applicant present?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for attending. All right, so this is an application located at 1789 Cheshire Bridge, Alfredo Isaac Agent. It's for a new business, use listed as convention center, to sell liquor, beer, and wine for on-premise consumption, along with customer dancing and live entertainment. The location has not had an alcohol license for the past 12 months. And I did verify that with Atlanta Police Department, and per the application, it states that as well. So everybody's in agreement there. the importance of that is any past grandfathering at this location would have expired. And I think it's important for the body to know that alcohol licenses are granted to the property. So any license that would be granted moving forward at this location would renew previous grandfathering. So I want everybody to be aware of the long-term implications of that action. This property is immediately adjacent to residential property to the rear and does not meet the 300-foot distance requirement for an alcohol license from residential property. For that reason, my recommendation is to deny the application for failure to meet distance requirements from residential parcels. Is there a second?
Second.
And Mr. Isaac, feel
Yes.
free to address the body, please, and I'm happy to discuss further.
Sure. Well, we did have a survey completed by Georgia Land Survey. At the time, I had attorney Lisa Morchauer that facilitated the application, but I understand that there is a residence back there. It's unfortunate. We're an event venue, banquet hall. We do weddings, bar mitzvahs. It's right now we're at the point where alcohol would really help us keep our business open because 2020 and COVID-19 pretty much wreaked havoc on us. But I understand at this time that the board won't be able to recommend the application. And so we'll see what steps we can take moving forward. But I just want everyone in the neighborhood to know that we're here and just stop by.
And for reference, the way distance is calculated on these alcohol applications, it would be from the property line to the nearest point of the building on the residential site. So, and I did verify and ask APD to go and measure, and they verified with me that it does not meet the distance requirements. So we have a motion and a second. Debbie.
Madam Chair.
Jack, your hand is raised. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Rawlings has accurately reported this. In fact, there are at least two properties that abut it. This was the site of the, at one point, the Nico's restaurant, which was one of the original successful restaurants in this area with Mediterranean flair. They took their small unit, expanded it mightily, and promptly went out of business. And ever since then, it's been a series of challenges about what to put there. I do believe it is uncontested that the 12-month period is right, but we have a problem here, and I don't know what the problem is, how to solve this. This is a heavily taxed, expensive, and valuable piece of land whose apparent use is simply not legal. And I've seconded Ms. Rawlings' motion, and I continue to support it here, but we really need some intervention with the Morningside Planning Committee and the council member's office to try to come up with an acceptable and productive use of this piece of property. We have a perfectly amenable applicant who is served well in my neighborhood of Virginia Holland, who's been an excellent citizen, who's trying to do the right thing. We need to find a route to success that does not tempt or incentivize people to break the law. I don't know what that is. And I know ATAG is looking at revisions to the code, and we desperately need some. Perhaps there is an hours limitation that does not currently exist that could be accepted here. I don't know, but I do think we need to let the applicant know that we have appreciated in Virginia Holland their compliance with the law and assume they would demonstrate the same here. And we need to have something other than no, no, no here. And yet I don't know what it is under the current law. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. And that is something that we're not going to be able to address tonight. Rich Sussman, I saw your hand raised.
Yeah, what property is it? Was it Alfredo's restaurant or what was the property formerly? You said Nino's, but Nino's is still in business, isn't it?
It's been a number of properties. Nico's was the
Oh,
location.
Nico, oh, okay, I remember now. Okay.
Okay.
The huge edifice at the corner of whatever.
Yeah, don't be afraid to go down there and look before the meeting, Rich. It's
I
allowed.
know what it is. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Okay. We have a motion that was properly seconded to deny this application because it does not meet the 300-foot distance requirements. All those in favor, please raise your hand.
Point of order, Madam Chair. It's not a recommendation, and it's a motion to recommend denial to the agency that actually makes the decision, makes another recommendation to the group that actually makes the decision.
Hey, Jack, I'm familiar with that, but for the LRB form, the recommendation is approve, deny, no opinion. So
I know you are. I'm more concerned about the membership and some of the things that get said in meetings. If we're going to deny this, we're not going to deny it.
Yeah, I know. Okay. I see 27 ayes. And this is a little backwards, but aye is a vote to deny. You may lower your hand. Lower your hand. Just have a couple more. Okay, those that are opposed to the motion to deny, please raise your hand. I am counting 2. By a vote of 27 ayes and 2 nays, the motion to deny, which is recommendation to the LRB, carries. Okay, you all can drop your hands. Last application is Felix's on the Square. Jane?
Right. Felix is on the Square. An application from the Camp Group Incorporated doing business as Felix is on the Square, located at 1510 Piedmont Avenue, Suite G. This is the area behind Ansley Mall. Casey Deaton is the agent. It's an application for a change of agent to an existing alcohol license issued to a restaurant to sell liquor, beer, and wine for on-premise consumption. It's exempt from distance requirements. There will be no customer dancing or live entertainment planned per the application. Hours of operation Monday through Saturday, 11 to 2:30 a.m., Sunday, 11 to midnight. They do meet the parking requirement. And the applicant is here, I believe, with their attorney, Mindy Thompson. So I'm going to let Mindy address the body first, and then I will give my report.
Great, thank you, Jane. Mindy Thompson with Sard and Leff Attorneys, and we represent the Camp Group regarding their alcohol license application. And as Jane mentioned, this is for a change of agent of an existing licensed business. Casey has been the manager of this location for over 10 years and in the food and beverage industry for over 20 years. And now he has essentially inherited this business from the former operator, Mr. David Camp. And so he is now going on as the agent on the alcohol license. And Casey, since has taken over management of the business, has put some significant changes in place in terms of renovating of the front door area and installing new front doors. Also hiring security, given these security concerns that are at Ansley Square, which we recognize, that he is paying for security 7 days a week. We're happy to answer any questions that you guys may have. We did attend the Ansley Park Civic Association Zoning Committee meeting, the favorable meeting, and they did issue a letter that they would not oppose the application that we do have pending. Again, happy to answer any questions you guys may have.
So this one admittedly is a bit of a complicated application. There are 3 noise violations, all issued by the Ansley Park Civic Association Security Patrol, 2 dating back to 2020 when Mr. Deaton was not the owner, and most recently in June of 2021. When Mr. Deaton inherited the business and the will was ultimately probated, which he then had the opportunity to institute some structural renovations to address noise, he did so, spending $90,000 and $4,400 a month on security at the location. Since making those changes, Ansley Park Civic Association has noted that there have been no additional violations. They have written to the solicitor's office for the pending court case tomorrow, explaining their appreciation for the structural renovations and the noise mitigation that has resulted from that. There is also a due cause hearing scheduled for tomorrow's LRB hearing for the noise violation. And in my conversations with Ms. Thompson, she has indicated that the applicant does intend to admit to the violation. So that is out there. It is known. There are known issues with security in general at Ansley Park that are really more related to management and ownership there in many ways. It is also an area where there are multiple restaurants, and it is difficult at times to attribute from where the noise is coming and who's responsible, and it's a shared parking lot. So it makes all of this very difficult, and I acknowledge that and admit that. Looking at everything on balance, however, I do think it's important that when civic associations bring concerns to business owners and business owners make a concerted and measurable effort to address and mitigate those, and the civic association immediately adjacent acknowledges that in a letter to the NPU, I think that counts. And ultimately, I think what we all want is responsible nightlife and responsible agents. And I do believe that Mr. Deaton's actions of late show that. So my motion moving forward is going to be to recommend approval of this application to the LRB.
I will second. This is Rebecca.
Thanks, Rebecca. Okay, before I open this up for questions, Mr. Dayton or Ms. Thompson, do you have anything further that you want to add?
No, I believe Jane summarized it accurately. Casey has poured a lot of time and money into making changes that will hopefully benefit the adjacent neighborhood, and also has been meeting with residents over the past few months, inviting them to come see the renovations, talk, I'm also trying to be a facilitator between the property management group there and the residents as well. So he is committed to continuing that facilitation between those two groups to see if there is some type of common ground that we all can come to.
Okay, great. let me open the floor for questions to the applicant. And when I call your name, please let us know where you are, where you're from, which neighborhood, and what your affiliation may be to the restaurant.
Debbie, can I make one additional comment before you open it up, please? I'm sorry.
Sure, go ahead.
We did get a report from Ansley Park Civic Association. I don't have a report from Piedmont Heights Civic Association, so I just want it known that Piedmont Heights has not taken a position. If they have representatives here and want to speak differently, but I have no formal recommendation from that organization.
Okay, thanks. Okay, I only see one hand raised, and that is Rose Holston.
Yes, can you hear me?
Rose, please go ahead.
Okay, so I am a member of NPU-E. I'm right behind Ansley Square. I just have a quick statement. So I've lived in Ansley Park for 10 years and with my family. We're literally right behind Ansley Square. We're a 32-unit townhome community. I'm here to address the change of agent, and I know it seems like a very cut and dry scenario, and I appreciate some of the work that's been done, but I do have a position that I do not agree with the approval without conditions. Felix's is one of 4 bars in Ansley Square, and I would like for the crowd here to remember the Zone 6 update that was just given. Around 1492 and 1510, that is the same mall. There is, from Captain Malecki's description, crime has begun to increase there. A homicide, yes, it was a homeless person on a bridge, but this is traffic that's coming from places like, and that could be coming from more traffic coming from Ansley Square and other places. My home is only a few hundred feet. It's about 100 feet from the mall. There was a shooting. There have been 2 shootings at Ansley Square and Ansley Mall of recent, and I've been here for 10 years and I've not had this kind of activity happening. On one of the shootings, my 16-year-old daughter, actually, she rolled out of her bed because that's how she's trained in school with active shooter drills. That's how close we could hear the gunfire. What I'm feeling is that, this is, yes, we have one bar owner who is trying to work somewhat with the community, but we're seeing more crime in that particular area. So that is something that really needs to be addressed. The bar customers are frisked before they enter the establishment, which is a part of the security. But according to Major Reese's feedback about Ansley Square, about the shooting, that what we have now are problems that are in the parking lot, in the cars. We've got guns, we've got alcohol and drug use. So my position, I know, I'm sorry, Debbie. My position is that I understand that the change of agent is in place and you've got some evidence, but I'm the community and we are still seeing some of these issues. So a change of agent without any type of stipulations seems very counterintuitive. And to Mr. Ramsey's, who's been on this call, I hear him every time. He has a nuisance property. We're headed there. And we need to keep some of these bar owners, they're pretending to be restaurants. They're not restaurants. They advertise, soup of the day, whiskey, effed up Friday. These are all from Felix's. Unless your kid's fundraiser is selling whiskey, I'm not interested. You know what rhymes with Friday? Alcohol. They're advertising more patrons coming to their establishments. So by giving the responsibility of a change of agent should be very tied to outcomes that are measurable. And I'm glad that, there is some movement, but it's not measurable. To Mr. White's point, he wants to see data. We'd also like to see those types of ties of information and changes as they go in. So my position as a member of the community who is actually hearing and feeling the crime that's now starting to happen here, I feel very strongly that a consideration for a no to change of agent without stipulations is wrong, is not a good idea to go in with none. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Carrie Aiken.
I believe Ms. Graham was raised before me. I would refer to her and speak after, please.
Actually, I purposefully called on you, Carrie, because you're a member of NPU-F.
Okay, my comment is that I think as good neighbors, we have an obligation to not broadcast our noise into the adjacent neighborhoods. And the fact that their zoning committee seems to be somehow involved in this, I'm not really sure that that should have a big impact on us as NPU-F to oppose the noise violation. Just changing the agent should not give you a get out of jail free pass on these kinds of situations. And I would encourage my fellow NPU members to oppose. Thank you.
Thanks, Carrie. Mary Graham.
Hi, my name is Mary Nell Graham, and I live in Ansley Walk, which is the 30-home community right behind Ansley Square and Ansley Mall. I guess you could say our community is a buffer zone between the malls and the multi-million-dollar homes in Ansley Park. I've lived in town my whole life, but I live in NPU, so I'm not allowed to vote at this meeting, NPU-E. But we're directly impacted by Felix's. For years, our homeowners have been troubled by the music, yelling, shots fired, and fighting involved in the late night venues at Ansley Square where Felix is located. They make money at the expense of our quality of life. I want Felix's to value the safety of their customers, many of whom are members of the LGBTQ community. I think everyone has the right to go out at night to dance or have dinner at Bangkok without the risk of being shot in the parking lot, as happened last month. As neighbors, we should have the right to sleep at night and stay asleep without worrying about a stray bullet shooting our children in their beds. Like many of you, we call 911 or a private patrol when we are woken up by music, screaming, and fighting. These efforts have been dismal failure for us. Ansley Patrol cannot be in the Ansley Square parking lot every time Felix's decides to prop open its vestibule door or arrest the drug dealers in the parking lot or stop Ansley Square customers from getting high in their cars with their radios blaring before they go into Felix's for some late night dancing. APD does its best, but it needs the courts and the businesses' support to be effective. I've tried to negotiate solutions. I've organized meetings for our neighborhood associations, includes Ansley Park, Piedmont Heights, Morningside Lenox, with our representatives, our commissioner, the owner of Ansley Square, and attended multiple meetings, which have included Felix's and their high-priced attorneys. I've taken many trips to Judge Portis's courtroom where violations are adjudicated, met with Major Reese, the clerk, the solicitor's office, the zoning review board. I've watched their attorneys attack the character of dedicated community volunteers because they stand up for the neighborhood families. All we get are promises and crumbs as Mr. Dayton expanded his bar, and still Ansley Square gets more dangerous. So we have very few tools to keep our neighborhood safe, and one is the noise violations. Felix has a history of violations, but the last 3 got lost in the system and never got on the docket. No one knows why. I spent months working with Ansley Patrol, the county clerk's office, and the solicitor's office trying to find these tickets. They had been adjudicated and brought to the Liquor Review Board for just cause action in a timely manner. We may not be here today discussing Felix's change of agent. A liquor license is tied to a location, as Jane mentioned. It's not just about who the owner is. What matters is the problems coming from the bar. A location can only have so many problems before its liquor license is threatened, and we're scheduled to be in court tomorrow on the first of these tickets. I'm sharing this with you because as residents, we have very little power to stop the dangerous activity going on at Ansley Square. Yes, this is just a change of agent, but if you, the members of NPU-F, approve this change of agent, and ignore the history of violations for this location, or attach no meaningful stipulations approved by the residents on this change of agent, you'll be telling Felix's they do not have to be responsible for the chaos generated by their business. They have approval without proving to us that they are a restaurant, as it says on their application, which allows them to be open on Sunday and make more money. They'll feel no pressure to install sound mitigation for their new patio. There'll be no paper trail from residents needed to challenge Ansley Square in court. Yes, Felix has sat down with their attorney and Ansley Park zoning chair last week to discuss possible new security Ansley Square as promised. But where has Felix's ownership been for the past year as the problems at the square escalated? Would they be talking to Ansley Park if this change of agent did not come before you today? Would they have done so if there was not a just cause package in front of the Liquor Review Board? Where the sound mitigation, I'm almost finished. Where the sound mitigation plans they promised us over 6 months ago for their new patio? Felix history of noise violation warrants a no vote. Stand up to them. Keep the pressure on them. Demand they earn their license and follow the law. Their right to make money selling alcohol is not more important than our right to live the in-town life we all love and deserve. Thank you, Debbie.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else that has any comments or questions regarding this application?
Debbie, may we respond to some of those comments?
Yeah. Go ahead.
So certainly we're not trying to take away from anything, any complaints that the neighbors have had whatsoever. But we've also have met with Ansley Park Civic Association zoning committee. We've also
You get out of here. It doesn't work like that. It's a day. I want to talk to me.
Okay, please mute your phone if you're not speaking.
and we didn't just start meeting with them as it relates to the change of agent. We've actually met with them multiple times. Piedmont Heights Business Alliance, the business association, has coordinated meetings with various groups. Felix has always met with them. I personally have met with them. It was in August of last year before any application was filed, discussing the renovations that were taking place. Casey being the new manager and able to make those decisions. And since he has made those decisions, we do have representatives of Ansley Park who are supportive of what he's doing and the steps that he has been taking. I do think that there is holistically a problem at this center itself, and we're trying to facilitate conversations between the neighbors as well as the property management company. A lot of the things that were mentioned are happening in the parking lot, and that's why we're trying to get the property management company to be more engaged with these issues and encourage them to hire armed security. My understanding is that the property management company is going through a bidding process to change their security instead of just having people who roam around in a car viewing, not do anything, that they will, moving forward, going to an armed security. So those are just a couple of things in response.
Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment regarding this application?
Hey, Debbie, this is Tim Berube with Piedmont Heights. And as you know, Felix is within the Piedmont Heights community. And we were in communication with the Ansley security folks, Jane Harmon, and we share the same opinion that Jane Rawlings does on this, where we are not going to oppose for the reasons that she stated.
Okay, thank you, Tim. Thanks. Okay, are we prepared to vote? The motion is to recommend approval of the change of agent alcohol license for Felix's on the Square. If you're in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. And as a reminder, you must be a resident of NPU E or own property in order to vote at our NPU. Okay, I see 19 in favor, 19 ayes. Please lower your hands. Okay. Those that are opposed to the motion to recommend approval for this application, please raise your hand. Okay, I see 5 voting nay. By a vote of 19 ayes and 5 nays, the motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's move to the BZA applications. First one is V21-332, 688 Yorkshire Road Northeast. I'll sound the application and then turn the meeting over to Rebecca. Applicant seeks a variance to reduce the west side yard setback from 7 feet to 2 feet for a garage, the east side yard setback from 7 feet to 3.8 feet, the rear yard setback from 15 feet to 2.7 feet for the garage, and to increase the maximum lot coverage from 50% to 57.8%. Rebecca?
Sorry, I'm having problems with my video. It keeps turning off on me. Yes, we do have the applicant on the call. We have Stephen and we also have Diane. Are you guys available? Diane, do you want to give an overview? Okay.
This is Diane Barfield. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, we can.
Okay. The proposal is exactly as Debbie read it into the record. We had previously been before the neighborhood committee. They asked us to make an adjustment to the setback, which we did, and they also asked us to give them specific calculations on the lot coverage and the stormwater management. And we submitted an amended referral certificate and a revised plan, which is what the neighborhood group reviewed, that met that criteria.
Okay. Rebecca, do you want to fill us in on MLPA's recommendation?
Yes. So MLPA did recommend approval, and I'll make that my motion.
Okay. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Okay. Are there any questions for the applicant regarding this application?
Debbie?
Yes.
All right. So Rich Sussman, I see that you're reducing the west side setback from 7 feet to 2 feet. And this again brings up the situation which we've seen numerous times, that when a structure is less than 3 feet from the side yard setback, it could cause future maintenance problems, just getting equipment to a location that is 2 feet from the property line. I'm wondering why it has to be that close, and also 2.7 feet, why it has to be that close also.
Hey there, hey everybody. Yeah, there's a building there right now. It's actually the setback currently is at 6 inches. And so we're gonna replace it. It's a garage that I can fit my horse and buggy in, but I can't fit my car into. And so we're gonna make it a little bigger and then shift it over. So it's actually gonna be more space than what is there right now. And then same thing with the rest of the variances on there. It's mostly going to be in the exact same location or actually giving a little bit more space than the current location. It's just because we're considering tearing down the building, we have to start from scratch.
So is there any way you can move it so you give yourself enough room to work in there? Because you may be living there for a while and you may want to sell the property and you may have a neighbor on the other side who may not let folks come in and try and maintain the property within that 3 feet area, that 2 foot area. It's just causing a potential maintenance problem. Is there any way to at least move it 3 feet in instead of the 2 feet in? Or did you take that in consideration? Because this does come up several times, has come up numerous times in the NPU within the past several years.
We did take that in consideration. I think the initial plans we had it at 6 inches, and our neighbors on all sides had signed off on it. When working with the planning group, they had asked if we move it over, and we moved it to that distance for, I mean, it'd be ridiculous if I said it's impossible to move it over anymore, but to get the space and work with the rest of the property, 2 feet seem to give adequate space to do the work that you're describing, which I think is important, but we were still able to maintain the rest of the plans that we had there. But and so per the recommendation of the group, we did make the move to 2 feet.
I believe that was the recommendation of the neighborhood group when we had it at 0.5 feet, which is the existing setback, and the existing setback to the rear is the excuse me, is the 2.7 feet. But I actually think that's how, if you remember, Mr. Turner, within one of those meetings,
Yeah, that's right.
that 2 feet was what was asked for, in addition to asking for a specific breakdown on the lot coverage criteria and the stormwater management.
Right, and this is Rebecca. So yeah, the way the driveway is lined up as well on this property, it would line up with the garage. Otherwise, if you moved it over another foot or so, it probably wouldn't even match up. Just the way the lot topography is like the lot does have a drop off on that side of the driveway where the setback is.
Mr. Geis asked on the video how you get a ladder in 2 feet. The answer is you don't. If he needs to work there, he'll have to go build some crude, simple scaffolding, go side by side and suck his belly in. Fortunately, it looks like he's in shape and can do it legally. But the reality is that the city still recommends the 3 feet. However, they are accepting pre-existings at 2 per Diane and Stephen and Rebecca's recommendation. And I think that question is properly directed at the Morningside Committee, which did address it, as was noted. I think we're okay on this one. If the city wants to take a stand, remember, we're only making recommendations here, so they can take their stand, and they'll have Diane and Stephen and Rebecca there at the time. So I think we're okay.
Okay, great. Stephanie, I think your hand is raised.
Yes, I would just like to say that I've seen a lot of building with a 7-foot setback, and what I see is ladders going into the next property and damage to trees and damage to other people's property. And I simply don't see why we can't continue to protect our setbacks. I mean, 4 feet, let's keep those. We need those setbacks to absorb water. And what you're doing when you fell up to the very edge is you're just pushing the water onto somebody else's space. So I dread somebody moving in next to my house and doing that. And what I don't, I just want to I think we should think about, our neighbors. And I don't think this is a very polite response. I mean, you can move that garage and put in that setback. That's my view. And so I urge people to vote against it.
May I respond to that, please?
Sure, go ahead, Diane, briefly.
We have the support of the adjoining neighbors, and we also specifically got a professional design on the stormwater management. And so what we're proposing to build, they've done an analysis of the way the city will look at this in relationship to issuing a building permit. And they have provided those calculations as to how we're going to manage the stormwater.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? All right, we have a motion on the floor to recommend approval. It's been properly seconded. This is V 21-332. If you're in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Okay. Looks like the numbers stopped changing. I see 16 ayes. You can lower your hands. If you're opposed, please raise your hand. If you're opposed, please raise your hand. Okay, the vote is closed. 4 nays by a vote of 16 ayes and 4 nays. The motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the
Thank
next,
you.
you're welcome. The next application is V 22-4. This is at 1076 Monroe Drive Northeast. The applicant seeks a variance from the zoning regulation to reduce the required north side yard setback from 7 feet to 5.9 feet for an existing detached garage, and 2, reduce the required south side yard setback from 7 feet to 5 feet for a deck. Jack White.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Rodriguez is with us, the homeowner and the applicant. I'm going to just briefly describe this in the interest of time. He has 2 formal applications listed on there. One is a north side yard setback, and the other reduction to about 5 feet, and a south yard for a 2-story for a garage, a new garage, and a south yard side setback about 5 feet for a deck that was rebuilt there. This house is located one away from on the west side of Monroe, 1 house away from the corner of Crest Hill. There was a lot of previous construction on this site, and in fact, we went through a laborious process and a site visit and investigated many different angles of this and met with the rear neighbors and the north neighbors, both of whom have some impacts from this. Both are satisfied. Would be thrilled if they were on the call to speak for themselves, but I will state fearlessly for once that both find the outcome acceptable. And then when it got ready, we had come to a conclusion on the planning committee. We were recommending approval based on the fact that there is a reduction in overall impervious surface on the lot after the changes Mr. Rodriguez made. And that is, in our experience, entirely sufficient for the BZA to move forward and recommend to adopt. That would have been ours, but in the middle of that, we were informed by several sources that in fact a CO appeared already to have been issued at this site. This is a mysterious outcome to us. And Ms. Barfield helped us dive into the voluminous records, and the board wound up sitting it out. The board wound up saying, if there's been a CO issued, there's this there's no point in this process. It's done, officially done. There's apparently some disagreement inside the planning department about whether or not a formal CO has been issued that covers the garage. I think it's indisputable after listening to Ms. Barfield that it has. I would not care to go up. If Ms. Barfield wants to speak, she can, but be that as it may, we talked it over with board members today. Ms. Rogers from our board and planning committee is on this call as well. And we talked it over with Mr. Brandenberger and a couple of Mr. Loudis. And the decision was that if this agony is going to be prolonged on the grounds that this hasn't been approved, even though a CO has been issued for a plan that lists the garage, but let's never mind the actual facts. We are happy to note for the record that the planning committee, after extensive investigation, would have recommended approval. And I will make that my personal recommendation as a citizen of NPU-F, that on the grounds that there is less than the new version has less impervious surface. The nonconformity has been reduced. I recommend approval.
Okay.
Mr. Rodriguez, do you have anything to add to that, sir? You're on and you have the right to speak.
Before you make any comments, Mr. Rodriguez, would you need a second? Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Okay, thanks, Rebecca. All right, Mr. Rodriguez, you're on. Mr. Rodriguez, do you have any comments?
You need to unmute yourself, lower left, sir. If not, I think we got the salient points in for you. I hope we did. I'm going to unmute your. Kay, can you unmute him, please?
I've been trying and I can't from the
Okay.
host.
For some reason, I'm having a lot of trouble, Debbie, with the original screen on this meeting. I don't know what happened either. I'll share Rebecca's note.
Yeah, I know.
But we are suggesting that it be approved so that even if he can't speak, if there are any questions, we'll do our best to feed him. Believe you me, I'm ready for the SAT on 1076 Monroe Drive. I'm ready for the test.
Are there any questions that we could relay to Mr. Rodriguez? Any questions on this application?
Okay, then I call the question, ma'am.
All righty.
That's not what that means.
I know. And I was going to say, I think we're ready to vote. So all those in favor of recommending approval to the BZA for a V22-4, please raise your hand. Let me just give it another 5 seconds. Okay, the vote is closed. That's 21 ayes. Please lower your hands. Okie dokie, couple more people. Lower your hands. Okay, for those, anyone opposed, please raise your hand. Please raise your hand. I am seeing no opposition, no nays. By a vote of 21 ayes and 0 nays, the motion to recommend approval carries.
By the way, I'd like to thank Ms. Barfield and Mr. Bullock from our committee for their extraordinary amount of time they both spent on this application. Thank you both.
Thank you. Alrighty, last BZA application is V22-8-1290 Pasadena Avenue Northeast. The applicant seeks a variance to reduce the rear yard setback from 15 feet to 4 feet and the west side yard setback from 7 feet to 2 feet 6 inches for the construction of a detached garage. Is the applicant present?
I am.
Alrighty. Do you want to give us a little bit of background on your application?
Sure. There was an existing garage that the foundation's still there, so we're putting it back in the same setback it was. And since it was torn down, but the foundation is still there, we need the zoning approval.
Okay. Okay, Rebecca?
Yeah, and Morningside voted, recommended approval for this one. It is the exact same foundation. The foundation is obviously still there, several feet high, so. I'll make that my motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, any
Mr.
questions?
Gardner's on this call if there are any questions to the architect.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the applicant or for the neighborhood?
Debbie, again, I just, fair warning to the homeowner, even though it's on the same foundation, the maintenance problems in the future, you may have a problem. So take that into consideration. You may want to move it over feet, but you may have some things in the future that cause you problems.
All taken. Any other comments? All righty, I think we're ready to vote. All those in favor of the motion to recommend approval of V22-8 at 1290 Pasadena Avenue, please raise your hand. Okay. The numbers stop changing. That's 16 ayes. Please lower your hand. Those that are opposed, please raise your hand. If you're opposed to this motion, please raise your hand. 3 nays. By a vote of 16 ayes and 3 nays, the motion carries. And I believe that takes us to the end of the BZA application.
Actually, Debbie, there's one more for Morningside.
Well, I saw that on your report, but it's not on our agenda. The one on Windermere, is that the one you're referring to?
Yes, it's on Windermere, yes. It's on the BZA agenda for March.
For March.
Yeah, it's the March 10th date for BZA. So yes, it's on the February, it should be on the February agenda.
Okay, I'm sorry, it's not on our published agenda. I don't have any information on it. Why don't
Yeah,
we?
you sent it to me. I can tell you the date.
No, I'm sure I did. If it, obviously you have it. But usually the city picks up on those changes, and they didn't. I think what we're going to do is move on to the special event applications. And while you do that, I'm going to check through my notes to see if we have it, and we'll drop back in as soon as I find it. Piedmont Park. Oh, okay, that was consent agenda. Dogwood Festival. Rebecca, this is a Class A event, 70,000 participants, includes the road race on 4/9. That has anticipating 1,000 runners. The event will take place April 8th through 10th, 2022. Rebecca Jones, do you want to tell us if what's changed, if anything? This is a festival that's been going on for decades.
It
And
has, actually. So the changes are, we are not activating the meadow this year out of financial, frankly. So we won't have the dog disc unless we can find a sponsor for it. We are not shutting down the bike lane. Our ask last year from M&A and y'all actually was for us to give that a shot. So we did it and it worked. So we're not going to shut down the bike lane. We will be doing a lane closure on the Grady side. And fortunately, our artists are back up. So we're looking at having over 200 artists. I think last year in August, we only had 160. So we're just looking forward to getting back, and we are going to be doing donations at the gates, and NPU-E has offered to come on board to help us with that. Obviously, we would love the opportunity to have y'all involved as well. Based on that, it would be, we'll give y'all t-shirts, and 15% of whatever is brought in from your organization would go back to your organization. We're in the same situation that everybody else is. I mean, we're just trying to survive. And for it to be such a landmark festival, our goal is that we can keep going.
are there any questions for Rebecca regarding the Dogwood Festival? Any questions? Is there a motion?
Other than thunderous applause, we're back. Come on, y'all.
I move to support.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kay.
Second.
And sorry, who seconded it?
Okay, Jane.
Jane, thank you. Okay. All those in favor, please raise your hand. This is the motion to support the Atlanta Dogwood Festival, April 8th through 10th. Kay, can you see how many people have voted to support?
There, I see 17.
Okay, thank you. I'm still looking for that application. You can drop your hands. And then all those that are opposed, please raise your hand. How many? Okay.
One.
One opposed?
Yep.
Okay, by a vote of 17 ayes and one opposed, one nay, the motion to support the Atlanta Dogwood Festival carries.
And please know, y'all, share my cell phone number and my email address, as we always have. If anything comes up, if there's anything that we can help with, we're available 24/7. So if I get a phone call at 2 o'clock in the morning that something is amiss, then we will repair it and move forward.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you.
The next application is the AJC Peachtree Road Race. Is Jenny Coakley present? Or someone representing the Peachtree Road Race? Okay, is there a motion to defer?
So moved.
Second.
Objections to deferring this application? Just call out. Okay, I don't see any objections. We'll defer this to our next meeting. The Atlanta Ice Cream Festival is next. This is a Class B event, 22,000 participants in Piedmont Park, July 23rd, 2022. Kevin James.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Debbie, thanks for having me back. You can hear me fine, right?
Yep, we can. Just tell us what kind of changes, if any, you have at the festival. This is all-
It was good to actually hear from Rebecca in terms of reduction with the Dogwood Fest. We're doing the same thing. Really trying to scale back the number of vendors. In terms of street closures, no street closures. I mean, everything is increased. So increased cost-wise and increased man count or head count with regards to moving in, moving out. We'll have all Atlanta Police Department officers, off-duty officers. So you won't see any volunteers near the gates. You know, there's an elevated level of safety and security that we're taking this year as well. So nothing that you will see as an attendee that has changed, but the infrastructure of it will definitely be much safer. And we're taking safety and then the security perspective really serious this year. One thing they came up with Piedmont Park Conservancy, I just want to call it out, with regard to vehicular traffic going into the green market, that was quite alarming, of which that's one area we're going to be adding police department and police presence in there, just to make sure the entire footprint is safe for everyone. But still one day, it's free to get in. People will patronize and peruse as they go along and see the vendors. The focus, of course, is ice cream, but also a major focus on wellness and fun. So again, one day event, 11 to 6.
Great, thank you.
Absolutely.
Any questions for the applicant, or is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, all of those in favor of supporting the Atlanta Ice Cream Festival, please raise your hand.
It feels good to see the hands raising, just so you know.
I'm seeing 17, Debbie.
17, great, thank you. Okay, you can lower your hands. Ooh, I just found the clear all button.
No, I don't have clear all this time.
Alrighty, all those opposed, please raise your hand if anyone's opposed to ice cream.
Deb, can I ask just one more suggestion or request? If there's any feedback, please send it to us. That's the only way we can make, this is year 12, that's the only way we can make it better. Please share. We read every email. So if you, as my colleague in the industry mentioned previously, if you see anything going haywire, please let us know, because naturally we can't be everywhere, but we can definitely address it quickly.
Okay, did you put your contact information in the chat?
Absolutely. Oh, no, I didn't, but on the application, but I can put it in chat as well.
Okay. That's right. And if anyone has any complaints, I do have the applications.
Please. We want to hear it all.
Okay, great. Just to close out the vote, I don't see any nays. By a vote of 17 ayes and 0 nays, the motion carries.
Thank you.
Application is Reggae Music. Reggae, thank you. Music and Arts Festival, it's a Class D event, 9,500 participants in Piedmont Park. It is on August 12th through 14th, and the applicant's present, yes?
Yes. I'm Eric. I'm the chairman of the Hand Over Fist Foundation. We're the host organization for the Reggae Music and Arts Festival. Again, we've been doing this for 9 years. This will be our 3rd year in Piedmont. No major changes. Well, the only major change is that this year we will be requesting a parking lane closure on Charles Allen going northbound and on 10th Street going eastbound towards Monroe, just to help alleviate some of the parking concerns that we hear from the community. So we're going to be taking that into concern this year.
Have you talked to the Midtown regarding those lane closures?
I actually have Midtown on Wednesday.
Okay. Okay, and you expect 9,500 participants?
Over the course of 3 days, yeah. It's
Okay.
a free family event. Lots of food, lots of culture, art. We're gonna have some games for the kids. We always provide nice inflatables and stuff for the kids. So it's really organized around the family and bringing Black families together.
Okay, great. Any questions for the applicant? Once again, it's one of these events that has been around for a long time. Okay, is there a motion?
Move to support.
Second,
Rich. Okay, if you're in favor of the motion to support, please raise your hand. I see 15 ayes. Okay, those that are opposed, please raise your hand. If you're opposed, please raise your hand.
Okay.
Okay. 0 nays by a vote of 15 ayes and 0 nays, the motion carries.
Thank you very much.
My notes are all out of order. Have I called on every special event? Okay.
Debbie, the missing one we found, do you have it? Rebecca's trying to log back in. She got cut off, but
Yeah,
it's
I do.
B2215.
I
The
do-
applicant's on the line from Morningside, so is the architect.
Okay, great. Thank you. So while Rebecca gets on, the first thing we need to do is to have a motion to add this to our agenda.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Second, is there any objections to placing this on the agenda? Hearing none or seeing none, we will add this to the agenda. This is V.
22015.
15, right? The applicant is constructing an accessory dwelling unit, seeks a variance to reduce the north side yard setback from 7 feet to 4 feet 3 inches. And Jackie said the applicant was present.
Well, yes, if Rebecca's on the line, she can take over. If not, right, why don't you start off and you and the applicant can do business.
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry. Yes, we do have the applicant. We have Wright and Dinah on the line. So, Wright, you can go ahead and give us an overview.
Okay, thanks, Rebecca. I'll try to be very quick. As explained in the description, we are building an accessory dwelling unit in the backyard of the existing house. The left hand or the north side yard setback is 7 feet according to the ordinance. The existing house is 4 feet from the property line, and we are simply just trying to align the accessory dwelling unit with the left hand side of the house. We're not going any farther than the existing house. Other than that, the accessory dwelling unit complies with all other zoning requirements. If there's anything additional that I should say that I can also add. I just wanted to be kind of brief.
No, I appreciate that. Rebecca, what was Morningside's recommendation?
The zoning committee did recommend denial, but the Morningside board recommended approval on this one. So I'll make that my motion.
To recommend approval. And what were the concerns of the planning committee, your zoning committee?
The concerns were the tree, but it was brought up that the removal of the tree would occur whether the building was built into the setback or not. So that was why the board recommended approval.
I'll second her motion, Debbie.
Okay. Okay.
Right. This was I think it was a 26-inch oak tree, I believe. I'm not, I don't, my computer just turned off on me, so I can't see my document right now, but I believe it's a 26-inch oak tree on that one side of the property.
Actually, your notes say 29 inch.
It's a 29-inch oak tree. Yeah, that's correct.
Debbie?
Yeah.
Okay, so I looked at this, I had some discussions about this. This is a 29-inch. I didn't understand what we're saying the tree would have to be removed or not. Could you please explain that?
So the existing tree is within the buildable area of the lot. And the objective of where we're placing the ADU is to work with the existing floor plan of the existing house. And also preserve as much of the backyard as possible. The tree is up against an existing deck, and where we're trying to place the dwelling unit is kind of in the same location where this existing deck is. The tree is like a 29-inch tree, so it takes up the lot is small, so it takes up a large part of the existing backyard, and so there would be really no good place to place the ADU without, impacting the tree.
So you're saying that the ADU is in this required structure, and it cannot be moved to a different place in the backyard that would have a less of effect on the tree. That's what you're telling me.
I'm saying that there's not a way to move the accessory dwelling unit to work with the existing house and maintain the existing.
Could you move that structure to a different part of the backyard so it doesn't affect the tree?
We could move it to a place that would not really work with the plan of the house and not affect the tree.
I don't see a hardship in that. And a variance should be granted given a hardship.
Madam Chair.
Jack?
Rich, I look forward to the changes in the tree ordinance, none of which were listed in either of the extraordinarily long and tedious discussions we had on it in the last 2 months that will produce that result. But right now, he's allowed to cut a tree in the buildable area. You can like it or not like it. And I have an opinion myself. But here's the deal. This is going to be granted, as it has been dozens and hundreds of times at the BZA without any comment or thought, because it is conforms to existing practice. And so this is not the forum, I may suggest, for advocating for what you're doing, which is changes in the tree ordinance. I don't like the last 2 attempts that were made either, because they didn't do much educating. They just did a lot of confusing. So, but could we please vote against it if you'd like, and go down to the hearing if you'd like and testify. And if you prevail, that'll be educational for all of us. And then we'll start applying a new criteria. But you're not gonna.
I'm not calling for changes in the tree ordinance. I know that Virginia Highland and Morningside have worked at times to try and accommodate changes in the variance so it would have a minimal effect possible on the tree.
So you assume Morningside did that here would be a good assumption at great length, and you can listen into the meeting. It's public, and he tried.
I let you speak, now let me speak. All I'm asking for is there a way that the structure could be moved so that it would not affect the tree?
But the proper question to ask is the applicant willing to move it? And if he is not, does he have the right to do what he's asking to do?
Okay, I think
I'm not disputing right or not right. All I'm asking is Is there something that the homeowner could do to move it so that it would not have an effect on the tree?
And I think that question was answered.
Yeah.
All right, we have a motion to recommend approval that was properly made and seconded. Are there any other questions for the applicant that don't have to do with trees? Seeing none, the vote is now open. If you're in favor of the recommendation to recommend approval, please raise your hand. Okay, I see 13 ayes. I'm going to lower your hands. You don't have to lower them. I found the button. Okay. All right. Lowering your hands. All right. If you're opposed to the motion to recommend approval, please vote nay. Raise your hands. Please raise your hands. I see 5 nays. By a vote of 13 ayes and 5 nays, the motion carries. Okay. Have we have one last item under matters for voting, and actually this is a review and comment. This is a subdivision application for 910 Lindbergh Drive Northeast. The applicant seeks to subdivide the property into 3 lots. This application is on our agenda for review and comment only. Is Mr. Warnock, are you here? And do you want to make a brief presentation, and emphasis is on brief?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Let me share the screen real quick here. Can y'all see the screen? So, yeah, so this, it's been up for a couple of rezonings to produce a different lot layout. And this one is in the current zoning, and it will be for the lot to the left. There's 3 lots here currently configured. I'll show the current location here. So the subdivision is for the large lot only, and we are doing a subdivision to divide the current lot into 3 lots.
So the property at the intersection of Lindbergh and Lindridge is not being subdivided?
Yeah, those are already subdivided. 928 is the original lot in the neighborhood. We did some replat procedures over the last 6 months of the delays to reconfigure this lot line between these 2 lots right here. There is an existing lot of record in the rear that apparently from the procedure earlier, a couple of years ago, was consolidated into 922. So I could not get that last lot on the replat procedure. But we, made this lot straight as the neighborhood asked, kind of in the zoning, it seemed, well, the original rezoning, it seemed like 65-foot wide lots were very important. And then when we did the amendment, they said, just kidding. I think it says we are not making the rezoning changes, period. I think that's what we got there. But the current plan is the 3 lots here. So these will be, 70-foot frontages and 9,000 square feet right here. So it'll be one lot here, one lot here in the middle, and then one lot that will be currently including, what would be necessary and the remainder of the property across the creek.
And since these are R4 lots, they need to conform to a minimum 9,000 square feet. And I think all three of them do. And it's 70-foot frontage. Is that right?
Yeah, so lot 1 in this subdivision has 70 feet and some change. And then lot 2 has 70 feet. And lot 3, as we've shown, has the remainder. Each lot, lot 1 is, 9,200 square feet. Lot 2 is just over 9,000 square feet, 91. And lot 3 is the remainder at 47. We have the existing curb cut on the front at this point that was installed in 2020. And the driveway, we're going with a shared driveway. So kind of sticking with the zoning plan that we had original. And we'll see what happens in development reviews. So we have this hammerhead driveway. It's shown for size here, which would be if it was required to be a fire lane. If with the whole hammerhead turnaround, we could make it a T shape coming out to Lindbergh, which would be with the existing curb cut is for 4 lots, so we could do that as well. It'll just depend. There's a couple of trees up there in front of the driveway. So I think that's pretty much covers it. Like I said, it's been a lot of reviews here on this one. Not a lot of discussion here on what would be the best thing for the neighborhood here, but
Just
anyway.
another quick question. Would you point out the frontage for that big lot? I see 2 dark lines and I'm not sure which one is the.
Yeah, so the large lot would be here and it would come up to the roadway and comes to here. And the lot for the subdivision plan comes here. And we did the replat procedure to make this lot straight. And also the, this dotted line here that comes on across was the original lot that we've now made more of a rectangular shaped lot. And, some people are interested about the historical register thing. That would be, this lot would be out of it now, so it should not have to comply with a lot platting pattern. But I think you'll find in the neighborhood, if there's larger than 65-foot interior lots, they will probably not be in a rectangular format. So.
Right. Okay. Are there any comments from the NPU that we should share with the sub?
Yeah, Debbie.
Can we have MLPA's thoughts on this, please?
Well,
How about Lindridge Manor, Jack?
Yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, so Lindridge Manor has all along supported the subdividing of this area into R4 lots, as long as the city is okay and makes sure that it conforms to all subdivision regulations and whatever development regulations and ordinances and rules that govern it. LMNA is fine with it.
So, Mr. Warnock, this is a good outcome, is it not? Isn't this what Linda Joint Manor was urging on the last discussions? I'm glad this worked out. This is excellent. If you must be satisfied, and Linda Joint Manor is satisfied.
No, I was pretty invested in the amended zoning plan.
Okay.
With our building.
Excellent. Okay.
So this is kind of a concession here to move this forward so it doesn't stall out. So.
Okay.
Okay.
All's well that ends well.
Are there any other comments that we want to report to the subdivision review committee?
I have a question, Mr. Warnock. Does lot 3 satisfy the requirements for an R4 lot? It's a great idea. I just wondered how it fits exactly.
In what way? It has the, more than 70-foot frontage and more than 9,000 square feet.
Okay.
And
Maybe
then
I can't read it very well. It looks like it's only half of 90,000 square feet, but how much do you get to count? All the floodplain as well? That's just an educational question.
What, you get to count everything for the area, but the buildable area would be back here along this area. This dotted line here is the setback for the whether is one of the, there's a floodplain and there's a stream buffer. The stream buffer setback is here.
Right.
And then the floodplain has an additional 15 feet. That goes down this line right here.
Gotcha. But you get to count all of it in terms of for establishing which classification and zoning.
Correct.
Thank you. That was just educational for me. Appreciate it.
Okay, any other comments?
It's going to be a beautiful lot. It'll be an odd lot, the one you just talked
know.
about, but it's actually, somebody's going to love that lot.
I know, me.
Okay, there you go.
All
Yeah.
right. Are there,
It's interesting. I think you can build a 23,000 square foot house there, I guess, if you can make it fit.
Good luck, but while protecting the riparian corridor, which we will be glad to take a look at with you when you get ready, sir. I'll be glad to be helpful on that.
because we're always helpful. Are there any objections to my reporting that NPU-F supports subdividing this property to 3 R4 lots as long as it is consistent with all applicable regulations?
Yes, Debbie, I do think you should note the comments that were just made, that it is a beautiful lot, that the owner enjoys it, and that we do look forward to its appropriate development consistent with all riparian protections, and it's going to be beautiful. And we look forward to supporting that.
Okay. Let me
Thank you, Jack.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
No, so thank you.
All right, thank you. Thanks, Brian. Thanks for your presentation. All right, now. The next thing on the agenda is presentations. We have none. Planners report. Doug Young, do you have a planners report?
Yes, I do. Good evening, everybody. My name is Doug Young. I'm with the Department of City Planning's Office of Design. I manage the city's historic preservation studio, and I'm the assigned planner for NPU-F. I have a few quick announcements tonight. I appreciate your time in this regard. On February 15th at 6 p.m., NPU University will host its Zoning Fundamentals session number 1. This is a beginner level course designed to make zoning terms and concepts easier for ordinary residents to understand, to learn how to apply zoning concepts to corridors and neighborhoods in Atlanta. All the contact information for these announcements will be in the chat, which I just posted a few minutes ago, so please check that out. I might have to scroll back a few comments to find it. The City of Atlanta is commencing its annual process for the Capital Improvements Element Update. Our online project submission portal is now open to receive requests for potentially eligible impact fee funded projects. If you go to the chat, you can find the link to get more information about how to do that. Then lastly, is the nominations are still open for the 2022 Design Awards. This is a program by the City of Atlanta, as also the Historic Preservation that I manage, and the Urban Design Commission. It gives an opportunity for the public to nominate projects, places, programs, or people that are making Atlanta a better place to live, work, and play. The Design Awards are now in their 45th year. The nominations are due February 28th, a week from today, by 4 p.m. If you click on the link in the chat, you can get direct access to the nomination form and all the other information about the Design Awards program. Those are our 3 quick announcements tonight, and I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Questions for Doug? Okay. Thanks. Be sure to get the information in the chat, and the chat can be saved by clicking on the 3 dots at the bottom of the chat screen. Neighborhood and committee reports. Let's go through the neighborhoods. Linder Manor, anything to report?
You know, we had a board meeting the other day. It was sort of abbreviated because unfortunately our president had COVID running through his family. His wife was hospitalized. Everything seems to be okay now. So it's sort of like last minute meeting. We will have a social at Armand Park on the 27th, Sunday at 4 o'clock. People are ready to get out.
Okay. And that's on the 27th? Okay.
That's correct.
Piedmont Heights, anything happening in Piedmont Heights? Anyone still here from Piedmont Heights? Tim or Bill? Morningside Lenox Park?
Hey, two of our Friends of the Parks groups, Sunken Garden, Lakes Wildwood, and Herbert Taylor Daniel Johnson, received significant matching fund grants for capital improvements, and we are extremely grateful to Park Pride and wanted to publicly thank them. This past week, the city also cleared the tree that had fallen onto the courts at Lenox Wildwood over the MLK holiday weekend. The fencing and windscreens have not been repaired yet, but the damage hasn't deterred anyone from playing. City Marcus is having a food drive on March 4th and 5th to benefit the In-Town Collaborative Ministries, and a cleanup day on March 5th while the park is being renovated. And lastly, there will be another Morningside craft crawl on March 12th from 11 to 4. So come and enjoy arts, crafts, food, and live music from local creatives in neighbors' front yards.
Great, thanks, Marla. Virginia Highland.
Hi, good evening. So a couple updates on our festivals coming up. So Summerfest is happening this year after a 2-year hiatus. It's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be only 2 days instead of the full weekend. So we're going to have on Friday, June 10th, we're going to have a Friday night community dinner that's going to be ticketed. We're still planning exactly what that's going to look like, but it's not going to be only for Virginia Highland residents like it has been in the past. It is going to be public, and we're going to add that to our fundraising. And then the next day, June 11th, will be a 1-day artist and music market. So then we'll have all of the normal Summerfest artist market, and should be really popular, but we are scaling back a little bit this year. Alex Saucedo has very graciously stepped in to serve as chair of the Summerfest. So it's happening because of him, and the rest of the board is also helping with that. So it's kind of more of a community effort this year. And then Tour of Homes has been pushed to October, but we are still planning on holding it. It's just, I think it was originally, our last time we scheduled it was kind of right in the middle of Omicron, and nobody wanted to have a bunch of people in their house. But hopefully October will be a little easier to pull that all off. So thanks.
Will Summerfest be the first weekend in June?
I assume that's the second weekend in June. That's June 10th and June 11th this year.
Okay. Okay. Edmund Park, anything going on in Edmund Park?
Oh, nothing going on, Debbie.
Okay. The Emory or the CDC area or Druid Hills, anything to report?
Hey, Debbie, nothing to report from Emory.
Okay, thanks, David. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Parks, Trees, and Environment, Rich Sussman.
Yes, thank you. We had a discussion. We had Trees Atlanta, Judy E. from Trees Atlanta give a brief presentation at our last meeting about Trees Atlanta's view of proposals or what it wants to see happen with the new tree ordinance, if it ever happens. I sort of followed up, and I met with the folks from the Citizens Committee, and I think their proposal has some merit. So what we've decided to do, I talked to Debbie about this, we're going to put the new citizens proposal in the chat, and if have folks several months to look at it, provide comments to both Kay and me. And at the May meeting, if the council thinks it wants to move on it, we'll have a discussion and perhaps we can vote on it. But I think it does have merit. I know not everybody likes it. There are things that people like, things that don't like, but I think it deserves a close look and moves us along in doing something about the tree ordinance in Atlanta. So please look at it in the chat. Several months, we'll get back to it and maybe we'll have time to either endorse it or not.
Okay, and I just put it in the chat for those that are interested. Okay, Education Committee.
Leah is not here tonight. Our education chair had a new baby a week ago on Friday, and she had actually planned to be here tonight, but Sophie had other plans, so they're not quite on a schedule yet. I think the only update we have on education, and actually Marla shared this with us, is that it appears they've put some of the changes on hold. So what we think of as Inman Middle School will continue to be Morningside Elementary next year. Springdale Park will remain as it is for one more year, and then hopefully they will figure everything out. And in the following school year, we'll see some changes.
Okay, thanks, Kay, for standing in for Leah. Public safety, don't go away.
Actually, nothing to report. I think we've discussed safety in enough detail this evening.
Okay, great, thank you. I do have a brief chair report. The first is the 2022 Community Impact Grants. At the end of this meeting, which is coming up very quickly, the deadline for submission is March 4th. So tonight we will be voting on the submissions that we've received. One of the requirements is to attend 3 specific training courses. That's to receive an incentive of $1,500. Kay and I have already attended one of the training classes. Carol Shannara and I think Aruna were at the elected officials training. So we've clicked on 2, and Morningside is attending the parliamentary procedure class. I think it was Holly that actually registered for that. So that should meet that requirement. So we have $6,500 available to disperse to through the grant program if they're accepted by planning. I did receive a riparian buffer notice for 863 Courtenay and forwarded to the zoning co-chairs for their review. If you have any concerns about that, please see Jack or Rebecca. APAB met on Saturday. The APAB officers, delegates, and alternates were sworn in by the municipal clerk in an extremely painful process. Appointments were made to the Public Safety Commission, and an ACRB representative was appointed for NPUs A through F, and that is Dr. Sharita Howard from NPU-D. She is replacing Jim Hardy, who represented NPU-F and those 6 NPUs. And then once again, just to keep everyone up to date, that we're going to continue to meet virtually until further notice. Kate, was there anything else that needed to be reported from APAB?
No, I think that hit the high points.
For APAB. All righty. We have no text amendments to review tonight. There's no old business. So the last item on our agenda is new business, and that is the approval of the projects that to be submitted for the 2022 NPU Community Impact Grant projects. As I mentioned, the grant award is $5,000 with an additional training incentive of $1,500, which we should meet. So that's $6,500 total. I've received 3 project requests. And I'm going to ask the project managers to briefly explain them. And then we can talk about how we want to divvy up the money. The first is the 2 kiosks at Sunken Garden and Lennox Wildwood Park. Holly or Marty, did you want to explain that project?
I can explain it, Debbie.
Oh, thanks, Marla.
Yeah, thank you. We would like to install a park kiosk at both Sunken Garden and Lennox Wildwood. Park kiosks serve a multitude of purposes. They formalize the park and welcome visitors. They provide a space to educate, communicate, provide maps and other important information to community members. Sunken Garden and Lennox Wildwood, they are 2 separate parks connected by a nature trail, are the only 2 parks in Morningside that do not have a kiosk. Herbert Taylor, Daniel Johnson has one, Noble, the Morningside Nature Preserve, and Sydney Marcus all benefit from having kiosks. We would like to use them to provide maps and other information. They're a great way to communicate and help activate the safe usage of these public spaces. We estimate that each kiosk would cost $2,000. This is based on communications with Sydney Marcus Park, who just built theirs pre-pandemic. Cost was $1,800. We would love to get both funded, but we know there are other projects in the neighborhood, so would settle for one funded. And then I think that's pretty much it.
Okay, great. Thanks, Marla.
Sure.
The second project is the installation of native trees along the Meadow Loop Trail. Rich, do you want to give a brief description of your project?
Sure. Last year, South Fork Conservancy, along with Pat, refurbished the Meadow Loop Trail. Now it's a 10-foot, 12-foot trail, which runs from Lindbergh to our new bridge. Trees Atlanta recently did a major planting on the other side of the bridge. They've done Trees Atlanta's done 2 major plantings in our parks on Armand, green space on Armand. We want to supplement the tree planting efforts by planting as many trees as possible as we can get money for along the Meadow Loop Trail, and more work will be done in the future along the Meadow Loop Trail. So this is a contribution from we see as a contribution from the NPU-F and Windridge Martin Manor to increase the tree coverage along our trails in the neighborhood.
Great, thank you. And your request is?
It was $2,250 or more, depending upon how much money is available.
Okay, great.
Sorry, how many trees would that plant?
Three 3-inch caliper trees, $750 including installation, Jack.
Okay, and the last project is from Friends of Herbert Taylor Park and the Daniel Johnson Park. Marty, are you on the call?
Here I am.
Yay.
So last year, Friends of Herbert Taylor and Daniel Johnson Park we received a community impact grant that helped us to refurbish a lot of the areas around the edge of the park where we planted natives and taken out a lot of invasive plants. We still have a lot of work to do in this 34-acre nature preserve city park. So what we are planning to do is use some outside consultants and experts in restoring native habitats to come in and train some volunteers and direct us in the best strategy to use to control invasives. I don't know how familiar all of you guys are with this park, but it was it's a large park that's at the confluence of Peachtree Creek and the South Fork, Peachtree Creek and Rock Creek. It has not been well cared for, and since it's bordered by neighborhoods on all sides, it has a lot of invasive species that have taken hold that we're trying to get a handle on. And we've got a friends group that has been actively working in the area for the last 3 to 4 years, and it's become apparent that we need some outside help to get a handle on this. And so we're hoping by getting more volunteers trained in proper use of or in proper ways to remove invasives and replant areas, that we can get a better handle on restoring this area. So we're asking for $1,000 for that.
Okay, great.
All right, that's the sum of your request is 1,000?
Yep, that is. It's partial, Jack.
No, of course, I'm just asking. I wanted to be clear.
Yeah, but if you wanted to give us more, we'd be happy to take more. We're like,
the way to get more is to ask for more. Don't say, gosh, I hope some Santa will arrive, because Santa might, but we love Johnson Taylor Park, so, okay.
I make a motion to support.
Well, okay, so.
Well, I'd like to amend that motion if I could. I'd like to move that some of these are better planned than others, but in the way to, in my view, to get grants granted is to do the planning as much as you can ahead of time and be specific. But some of them are very specific and costed out. And so I would like to move to give $1,500 to Taylor Johnson Park, because they can use it and it will encourage them to ask for even more next time, and split the remainder between the other two parks. That's my motion. And that will allow more planting of trees on the trail and a little more. I have no doubt that the kiosks will eat up more money than anybody ever dreamed. They always do. So that's my motion. That would be, we have 6,500, assuming we do. It's 2,750. If I did this right, it's 1,500. That'll leave 1,025. 1,500 for Herbert Taylor Johnson and 2,500 for each of the other two.
Okay, so.
Say something, Debbie. Okay, so I know Jack is a whiz at math.
I may have missed it. That was on the fly. I didn't have, because you know what, Rich, if you would, I'd love to see these circulated next time ahead of time. Go ahead.
So our trees cost $750 each. That would be $2,250. We are willing to, Windwich Mart Manor is willing to throw in some money in this. If we could get up to $2,750, we could buy 3 trees and kick in an extra $250 ourselves. We've already committed to $250. So if we could do $2,750, here's a little horse trading, and that leaves 0.5 to 4,250. That leaves about 2,250 for the other person. Would you go for that?
The kiosk and sunken garden.
Sunken Garden, 2,250. That gives them a kiosk and more, or give another 250 to Herbert Taylor. 1,750.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. I support that. That was what I'd call back of the envelope, and maybe not even an envelope, but okay, that's good enough for me. I accept that.
And I'm sorry, Rich, I was not totally following your.
All right, so each tree is $750.
Right.
Give us the totals, Rich. The totals is all we need.
Yeah.
Right. So it's $2,750. If we get $2,750, we'll be happy.
You know, finish the other two. Think big here, Rich. You're gonna manage it all.
Okay. So let's see. $1,750 for Herbert Taylor. That makes
that's 2,000 for the kiosk, but
2,000 for the kiosk.
Yeah.
What did you ask for, Marla? I'm sorry, what did you ask for?
I had asked for 2,000 for each kiosk, and I think the way you guys are doing it, we would get 2,250.
2250. Thanks for doing the math properly. Sorry, you must have an envelope there.
I have a calculator on my phone.
Okay, guys. These grant.
Something's not right there. Hold on.
No, these grant request documents are a pain in the butt, an absolute pain in the butt. And so I need to submit budgets with these, with the requests, very specific, who we're going to pay and how much kind of budgets. So it's pretty clear on the trees that the 2750, well, actually, Rich, why were you asking for 2250 for 3 trees originally?
That's 3 trees, but at the time, you weren't sure if any more grants were going to come in.
Right.
And so I said, well, if we had the entire 5,000 available.
Right, I know, but right
Yeah.
now we're not talking about 5,000.
That's
So,
right. So what I'm saying is, if we could get 4 trees.
oh, 4 trees.
But you may have to make it up differently, Rich. I mean, we got $6,500. Take away 1,200 for Johnson Taylor, it's 5,300, and split the other. Marla, I don't think you're going to get each kiosk funded here. I don't see how that's going to happen.
No, that's okay. We'll take one.
Yeah,
Okay, so
they're willing to take one.
22. Give Rich 2,500, and that'll leave 2,800 for Johnson Taylor's 2 kiosks. How's that, Rich? 2,500.
Jack, we need 2,750
For 4 trees.
for 4 trees.
Or to find a cheaper source of trees, or to ask Lindridge Martin Manor for more. Gee, I don't think you're going to turn down at 2,500 if it walks in, Rich. If you are, let us know. We'll find somebody that won't.
Debbie, you've had somebody with a hand up for quite a while.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't see that. Who has their hand up?
Holly.
Holly, thank you, Holly.
I just wanted to make a comment based on something that Jack had said. Oops, he's walked away. Jack, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Just so you know, these proposals were very detailed out as far as what they would cost, and they were given to Debbie ahead of time. So I'm sorry you didn't have a chance to review it, but people spent a lot of time coming up with these proposals. And, you know, I think you should ask Marty if she needs more money than she's asking for. You know, she has a plan, and whereas Marla too, you know, these kiosks are really important for these parks. And I think that you're being very casual with cutting her out of this. And I think we need to allow the entire NPU to speak. And, you know, I feel like just a few people have taken over the negotiation here.
Yeah, and let me just clarify, I didn't get one of the proposals until very late last night. So we would have negotiated all of this before the meeting, and I would have had this out sooner, but I didn't have didn't have time to do it. So thank you. I do know, and that was going to be my point, that the kiosks are, we know the cost of those, right? They're $2,000, and that's based on a previous purchase. Of
each, right?
Each, right, $2,000 each. The installation of the native trees, Rich has priced out at $750, and he can get a 4th tree with some help from Lindridge Martin Manor. So we've got a little bit of flexibility there. And then Marty, to answer Holly's question, and that was going to be my question as well. Do you know how you would spend any additional funds above and beyond the $1,000?
Yeah, actually we do, but we've already got a match from Morningside Lennox Park to match the 1,000 that we're asking for from the NPU. And since we got a grant last year, I don't feel like we can come back for as much, which was why we didn't ask for as much in our grant this time. so
Okay,
that we can share the wealth with the other parks.
right, and I appreciate that. Your consideration, okay. So we're still $750 over our $6,500 maximum for the NPU. I am not unwilling to request more. I've done that in previous years and it's actually been given to us because we've had some fabulous projects. But
So Debbie, what do we have so far?
this is where, honestly, I don't know. We've got
Now, may I, you've got 1,000 for the at Johnson Taylor, that leaves you 5,500. You have, if you want to use 2,000 for the one kiosk, that leaves you 3,500. If you subtract Rich's 2,750, that leaves you an additional $750 to play with. So you could either request the remainder of it for the second kiosk for them, or which I'd be tempted to do. Not every neighborhood responds, quite amazingly. Why don't we ask for the full amount of every request? What's the harm?
oh yeah, that's, as I said, I'm not unwilling to request more.
Let's ask for it all. Full support, both kiosks, 4 trees, and Herbert Taylor.
Okay. And at the, if we only receive our $6,500 allotment, then the second kiosk or portion of the second kiosk would not be able to be funded.
Or we can have another 9:45 end of the meeting session, which Holly can try probably more successfully to referee than this time. She's entirely correct in her remarks, of course.
Jack, the other 750, if there is 750 remaining, which that couldn't go to the kiosk, Lynn Ridge Martin Manor would gladly accept that other 750 so it could put up 5 trees.
It's tremendously generous of you, and I'll bet Marla would accept it as well, Rich. But your attitude, your willingness to accept money you didn't request, that's very magnanimous of you. I probably have to nominate you for an award of some sort.
Well, the Oscars are coming up soon.
Okay, have we noticed how sarcastic we get as the hour gets late? All right. So first, let me ask the question, are we all in agreement that we are going to support all 3 of these projects? Are there any objections to supporting those projects?
In full. In full, yeah.
In full. So the request would be $4,000 for 2 kiosks, $2,250 for 3 trees, and $1,000 for Herbert Taylor Park. Am I hearing that correctly? There've been so many numbers popping around.
Yes.
Okay, great. Now, we are required to turn in an actual hand count vote. So those that are in favor of what is on version A on the screen, please raise your hand. Please raise your hand. Okay. Stop moving. That's 13 in favor, 13 ayes. Drop your hands. Okay. Those that are opposed to this request, please raise your hand. There are 2 people that are raising your hands.
Rich, are you really opposed?
No, I hit the wrong side of the mouse.
How much more money will we have to give you to get you to support this? Please.
Yeah. Okay. Everybody's hand is down. So by a vote of 13 ayes and 0 nays, the motion carries. thank you all for your proposals. I'm going to come back with some very specific requests for information that has to be turned around very quickly, since the deadline for submission is March 4th. And thank you to MLPA, who's offered to be our fiscal agent. That is fabulous this year. Appreciate you doing that. Okay, is there any other business to come before the NPU tonight?
Hi, Debbie. This is Sherry. How are you?
I'm fine, Sherry.
I just want to thank you guys for, thank you for your support of all the initiatives that we have over on Hamilton Road, and let your folks know publicly that you are a genius, and we appreciate you always allowing us to pick your brain. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
What initiatives are you speaking of, Ms. Williams?
Oh, no.
Well, I'm
I'll
curious.
just
We're
tell
being
you what
thanked.
they are. We can talk offline if you have detail.
Sure.
We have two right now on Hamilton Road. One of them is 2775 Hamilton Road, where it is a proposed gas station. Well, we filed an appeal to revoke the building permit because it's in violation.
Remembered, I'm remembered. Go ahead. Thank you. What's the other one?
The
Yes.
other one is the Moore Martyr Plan.
We support this, Debbie. I don't recall our ever supporting this.
No, we haven't taken a position on the Moore Martyr Plan.
So that came up over the past 2 weeks. And the good news is that MARTA was going to vote on it at their board meeting on March 3rd, but they pushed it back to April 14th. So that's to decide whether or not we'll get LRT or BRT.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other business to come before the NPU tonight? If not, may I have a motion to adjourn? Please.
So moved.
Okay, Jane, any objections to adjourning? If none, feel free to leave the meeting. And thank you for your.
Thank you, everybody. It's a pleasure being here on behalf of the City Council President's Office as well. This is very, very insightful. This is exactly what we want to do more often. So thank you for allowing me being here.
I can just imagine your report to the council president.
I'm not gonna lie, I did not think it would be this long, but this is very important. It's very insightful, which is what the president would like to have on a very consistent basis as well. So I thank you all for all information.
Debbie, this is Doug. I want to send you my reports, the 3 pages for my reports tonight, but if you could just make an effort to double check them like you normally do, I certainly appreciate it. There was a lot going on tonight, so